Serbian students are marching over the course of several days to join a protest in the central town of Kragujevac.
NATO allies are meeting today to understand the implications of the Trump administration's announcement that the US will no longer prioritize European and Ukrainian security. Washington has said NATO membership for Ukraine is unrealistic and that Ukrainian aspirations of returning to pre-2014 borders were also unlikely. The Lithuanian defense minister told Euronews that NATO is now at a very difficult moment, given the slow nature of Europe's defense capabilities.
Be suitable for them is also unquestionable. I think we are in the beginning of a very difficult process where we will have to find the specific ways to generate strength. What is a good part of the message is that peace through strength was reiterated all around the room.
What does that mean, though, if you've just weakened Ukraine's position?
As I said, I think we are in the beginning of a difficult conversation. And one of the elements which is going to be critical, and as I understand also there is an agreement in the room that it's necessary, is our own capabilities. Because how can we sustainably help Ukraine if our own defense capabilities are being developed slower than that of the aggressor? The size of Ukrainian army and the size of our defense industry, of our own defense capabilities, they are not matching the speed of Russian military industry, of Russian transition from peacetime to wartime economy, of Russian assembly of troops at a quite a threatening speed. So therefore, yeah, I agree with that. Maybe in the beginning of conversation we have to agree that strength is not on paper. Strength is on the ground. It's our troops, it's our weapons, it's our defense industry.
Both the European Union's foreign policy chief Kaja Kallas and the President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky have called for European involvement in any potential peace negotiations between Russia and Ukraine.
Any agreement without us will fail because you need Europe and Ukraine to also implement the agreement. So without us at the table, you can agree on whatever, but it will just simply fail because of the implementation is not there.
President Zelensky echoed Kallas's words, calling for a meeting with the US and saying Ukraine would not accept any peace talks with Russia that didn't include his country.
Але зустрічі для нас пріоритет Україна-Америка, і тільки після таких зустрічей, після напрацювання плану, як зупинити Путіна, я вважаю справедливо тоді вже говорити з русскими. І я вважаю, що за столом перемовин повинні бути і європейці, бо ми є частиною Європи, і ми будемо обов'язково членами Європейського Союзу. Для нас важливо, вони дуже багато допомогли.
It comes after the US Trump administration indicated it's planning in-person talks with Russia on ending the Ukraine war without involving them, after having insisted that Kyiv should not join NATO and stating that it's up to Europe to protect itself and Ukraine.
Behind me you can see the discarded flags and high visibility vests that some demonstrators were carrying this morning in central Munich when a car drove into them from behind. 28 people, including children, were injured. The suspect, a 24-year-old Afghan-born asylum seeker, was arrested at the scene. Police say that they believe he acted alone, but authorities have not yet ruled out that this could have been an attack. This, of course, comes a day before a whole host of world leaders are expected to descend on the Bavarian city for a 3-day security conference. This includes US Vice President J.D. Vance, but also Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. But this also comes in the midst of an election cycle with German voters set to go to the polls on February 23rd. Alice Weidel, the co-leader of the AfD far-right party, which currently is second in the poll, has tied the incidents to migration, calling for a turning point in the country's migration policy. This is Alice Tidy reporting from Munich for Euronews.
The United States, it's the largest non-EU market for Italian exports. According to Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, during the first 2 years since taking office, they've grown by over 15 billion euros. But what could happen if Made in Italy products were targeted by Trump's tariffs? We put the question to Marco Simoni, who previously worked as an economic advisor to 2 Italian prime ministers.
L'impatto sul Made in Italy sarebbe molto significativo. Noi esportiamo ogni anno negli Stati Uniti nell'ordine di grandezza di 70 miliardi, sono tantissimi soldi, tantissimi tipi di prodotti diversi, quindi dei dazi naturalmente la penalizzerebbero, si venderebbe di meno in America banalmente e probabilmente anche noi compreremmo meno cose americane perché ci sarebbero dei dazi al contrario anche su prodotti americani.
Together with the furniture industry and food, wine exports would be among the main sectors affected by Trump's tariffs, as the US remains the largest importer of Italian wines. We are inside the Pallini factory, the world's leading producer of traditional Italian limoncello, a liquor made from lemon infusion. Out of the 3 million liters produced here every year, around 25% is shipped to the United States. Federvini, representing over 2,000 companies, mainly wine and spirits exporters, has called for a de-escalation of tensions to avoid a full-scale trade war. Michaela Pallini is both the president of the Pallini family-run business founded 150 years ago in Rome and the president of Federvini.
Gli Stati Uniti sono il nostro principale settore di esportazione per quello che riguarda vini e spiriti italiani. Parliamo di circa il 30% di 2 miliardi di fatturato, diciamo, di esportazione, quindi il conto è presto fatto, e di questi, quindi questo grande volume, potremmo arrivare a perderne quasi la metà. Insomma, questo è un rischio concreto.
Despite her close ties with Trump, it would be difficult for Giorgia Meloni to be offered any shortcuts.
Bene che se l'Italia ha questo rapporto privilegiato, ma questo rapporto non potrà avere un'influenza su eventuali dazi, perché i dazi che vengano o meno messi verranno messi nei confronti dell'Unione Europea, non dei singoli paesi. Noi siamo membri dell'Unione Europea e negoziamo qualsiasi posizione commerciale come Unione Europea, non come singolo Stato.
Giorgia Orlandi for Euronews in Rome.
Serbian students from several cities are marching over the course of 4 days to join at a 15th of February protest in the central town of Kragujevac. The demonstrations, led by university students, demand accountability and justice for the deaths of 15 people in the train station awning collapse last November. One student tells us why he is marching.
Idemo da odbranimo Ustav I šetamo za slobodu Srbije.
Weeks-long protests forced the resignation of Serbia's Prime Minister Milos Vučević and further concessions from authorities. However, students do not believe their demands have been fully met. In January, students went on an 80-kilometer march from Belgrade to the northern city of Novi Sad.
Hamas announced on Thursday it will go through with its release of 3 more hostages on Saturday as planned. The militant group had earlier said it would delay the next release after accusing Israel of failing to meet its end of obligations to the ceasefire deal. In response, Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz threatened to restart the war, saying all hell will break loose if Hamas stops releasing hostages. Following discussions with mediators from Egypt and Qatar, both parties assured their commitment to all aspects of the ceasefire agreement. The discussion focused on the necessity of implementing all provisions of the agreement, especially with regard to securing housing for Gazans. This includes the urgent entry of prefabricated houses, tents, heavy equipment, medical supplies, fuel, and the continued flow of relief. Israeli government spokesperson David Mencer said on Thursday that if Hamas does not release the 3 hostages on Saturday, the ceasefire will end.
L'accord avec le Mercosur paraît complètement aberrant.
La compétitivité de nos entreprises va se renforcer. Vilipendiado por unos, defendido por otros, mal comprendido por muchos, el denominado acuerdo Mercosur genera estos días grandes pasiones en granjas de toda la Unión Europea, especialmente aquí en Francia. La Comisión Europea acaba de firmarlo, para gran consternación de casi todos los agricultores franceses que se oponen abiertamente a un acuerdo ambicioso y complejo que lleva 25 años en negociación.
El Mercado Común del Sur, Mercosur y la Unión Europea han acordado comerciar bienes con aranceles reducidos o sin ellos. Si es ratificado, crearía un mercado de unos 800 millones de personas, una de las zonas de libre comercio más grandes del mundo. Eliminaría más del 90% de aranceles entre Brasil, Argentina, Paraguay, Uruguay y los 27 países comunitarios. Implicaría menos impuestos sobre coches, equipos industriales y productos químicos europeos, además de ropa, productos farmacéuticos y algunos agroalimentarios. A cambio, la UE abriría más sus mercados al Mercosur, en particular a sus productos agroalimentarios. Aumentarían cuotas libres de impuestos de azúcar y aves de corral. Mercosur también podría exportar a Europa 99.000 toneladas adicionales de vacuno con aranceles reducidos, el 1,6% de su producción anual en Europa. Alemania y España apoyan el acuerdo. Italia ha enviado señales contradictorias. Polonia y en particular Francia están en contra. Sus agricultores dicen que los productores Mercosur no estarán sometidos a normas y costes laborales europeos ni a su estricta regulación de pesticidas u hormonas y antibióticos en animales. Denuncian además que el acuerdo desampara a los consumidores y amenaza la sostenibilidad de las granjas de la Unión Europea.